Welcome back to DMI 156. DMI 156 content marketing. Welcome back. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about content marketing. Okay. So, up to this point, we've covered quite a bit. Hopefully, if you have any questions, please make sure you're asking your questions. You can use the contact information on this page. You can use the text message. You can use email. You can reply to our emails. If you have any questions. But welcome back. Let's talk about content marketing. What the hell is content marketing? What the heck is content marketing? Let's talk about what is content marketing. Okay. Well, first of all, what is content? Right? What is content? All right. This time that an age that we live in this digital era, literally everything and anything is content. Okay. So, for example, let's start at very, very basics. I am creating this course right now as I'm talking to you. This is content being created. Okay, this is content being created. Now you paid a healthy amount of money to be here. Okay, you earned the opportunity to be here, right? So so you can call it paid content, I guess, right? But also you can have free content. Okay. So, but content comes in so many forms, right? This types of content. Okay. But let me slow down a little bit, okay? Because I don't think I properly defined that. Any form of consumable material in the form of information on the internet or any digital platform is considered content. Okay. But I should include television, radio, terrestrial radio, or any other traditional forms of media, right? So you have media, but when you say media doesn't just exist. You go into a medium to consume what? To consume some form of information, right? That information is structured into pieces of content. Okay? So if you have an article, right? If you have an article and you have a video or you have an image, right? You have a picture, right? And you're able to be entertained or be educated by it online, that would be a piece of content. So there are types of content, and I just mentioned them really quickly. But let me go through them really quickly, right? Again, words, article, right? Words, text, right? Article, right? And you also have a video, right? You also have images, right? You also have infographics. Okay, infographics are kind of like images that contains content in more interactive or maybe more entertaining ways, right? And guess what? You also have audio, right? These days you have podcasts, right? You have people launching podcasts and people being able to consume content on the go, right? I'm gonna add this one because it's kind of like it has everything in it, but it's in real time. You're consuming it in real time as it's being delivered, right? So you can have live content. It could be video, or audio, right? Sorry. Okay. So you could have that as well, live content, right? So we have word, text, articles, right? Videos, right? Images, right? Infographics, audio, right? Podcasts, right? Live content. What else? I gotta add one more here. I have to add one more. Guess what it is? Can you guess? Right? Books. Okay. Books is another form of or type of content. Okay. So again, it's basically information packaged information. Okay. Packaged information. I'm gonna add one more. packaged and presentable information. Okay, does that make sense? Packaged and presentable information. Information is information. You could say, what is 2 plus 2? 2 plus 2 is 4, right? That's, I just giving you an information, right? You can say, what is the address to this place? That's information, right? When you start to package and you present it into meaningful forms, right? Let me put that together for you. Meaningful forms, right? It's the same thing. I'm just using fancy words. Packaged, presentation, meaningful forms, information packaged, meaningful forms. That means you can literally consume that one piece of information, right, or content, and you can walk away from it and say, I accomplished something, right? I learned how to do this. I can literally execute a process just because of this piece of information, right? Information is just like, hey, one piece of information, not necessarily designed to execute anything, right? But it's just information. It's like a knowledge, right? But when you prepackage knowledge and information into meaningful forms, which means you can use that form to generate some type of result or outcome, right? Then we can start to call it content. But at the end of the day, it's just all content. Content is everything, right? So in this time and age, if you go to work, you wake up every day, you go to work, and you jump in a car and you drive for about 25 minutes and you get to work, you're not really overthinking that. You're just living your life, right? You're just doing what you do, like it's just what you do. But the moment you pull out cameras and you document some aspect of this default activities, right? When you record those videos become content. Why? Because you can now post it and it can take on a whole life of its own when other people start to consume them. Okay, so that's different from so even though the same life you're living right now, there's no camera in front of your face, you're not documenting, but a story is being told, but you don't really pay attention to that until you start documenting them using cameras, right? What if you don't document using cameras? What if you grab a pen, traditionally a pen and a journal, and you start taking notes and writing stories as you live about your life? Is that content? Absolutely. That's content, right? So there are a couple of things I want you to pay attention to right now. All right. We have packaged, right? Okay. We have presentable, right? So these are the elements I want you to think about when it comes to content, right? Presentable, right? Documentation, right? All right. Documentation, right? If it's being documented, the moment it's being documented, that's that moment that it becomes content. Okay, so I know we talk about the packaging, we talk about the presentable. So this part will start to overwhelm you, like, wait, I gotta package it, I have to. No. The moment you document this in a way that other people can literally consume the information being documented, it was already information, right? It was already information, right? But information goes from information to content. How does that happen? The process is called documentation. Okay, that's how it becomes content. Okay, so now that we know what content is, the next question is, we already know what types of content are, right? The next question is that what is content marketing? What is content marketing, right? And why would you need to engage in content marketing, right? What is content marketing? Right? Content marketing is basically the act of putting out the content. Okay, is the act of promoting the content, is the act of spreading the content. Okay, if you take the video was already a piece of content on your phone when you recorded it, right? The moment you upload that um, into a platform where it's been exposed to a feed that human eyes or human senses will consume, right? That action right there is called content marketing. All right. But there's a purpose, right? There's a purpose. And that's why we're talking about why. Why would you need to market content? Why should you be engaged with content marketing? Okay. But let me just put this in the note here. The act. Okay. I always like to say the art and science because it's not an exact science. That's why you need continuing education. It's an evolving thing. Okay, so there's no exact science to this. We just need to understand the concepts, the art and science of promoting content. Okay, through media. Okay, let me spell my through properly. Through media, the art and science of promoting content through media. That is content marketing, right? Media could be radio, it could be TV, but of course, we're probably going to mostly talk about the internet, right? Maybe in the nearest future, it's going to be the metaverse, right? It's probably already metaverse to many people, right? Are you paying attention to that, right? Are you paying attention to the metaverse? Are you paying attention to all those other different forms of media that will become our reality in the nearest future? Now, up to now, like let me be honest with you. You're on the forefront. I know because you're soaked in this kind of stuff. You're this is your life probably already to a large extent. You're on the internet. In fact, you found me on the internet, right? So you start to feel like let me tell you something. An average human being, even when you say digital marketing, is still a strange language to them, right? Like literally, I was out to speak yesterday. I had a speaking engagement yesterday, and you know, I knew that, but it was even more of of a shock to know, right? Let's see here. It was even more of a shock. Excuse me, sorry about that. It was even more of a shocking thing to know that an average person, even some of this many IT people, the whole digital marketing thing is such a strange thing to them. And by the way, we're all involved one way, shape, or form or the other in digital marketing. How? Because we're all consuming content, right? If even if you're really, really that strange and you don't have access to the internet, I doubt it, right? Even if you are that person, right? You're watching TV. All those favorite shows that you're watching on TV, those are content. Okay? Those are content. Now they're fancy content. There's producers. There's people who specialize in costume. There's storyteller. There's writers. There's all this multiple six figure positions that makes up this thing, right? But again, we live in the internet times, right? In digital times, right? So content is actually being created. What happened when the sitcom shows disappeared, right? They were also a form of content, right? What happened when they disappeared? What happened when soap opera? Let me turn this off. Sorry about that. What happened when soap operas disappeared in the early 2000s, right? They were replaced by another form of content. What form of content were they replaced by, right? So I'm going to put a little bonus thing here, right? Reality TV shows, right? Reality TV shows, all right? So why? Let's get to the why, right? Let's talk about why. Why why is content marketing necessary ever? You need to be reminded this oftentimes, because let me tell you something. We're still in an era where you do it a little bit because you learn from Ola that you should do content marketing, and then distractions that tend to present itself or themselves, like what we always knew traditionally will present themselves. Before you know, you get distracted and you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm supposed to be creating content, but then you know how it goes. No, I don't know how it goes. You are going to miss out big time if you don't engage content marketing heavily. you're missing out big time in terms of a source of income, a source of leads, a source of deals, a sort of more opportunities, a source of the lifestyle that you actually desire, right? So never, ever, ever, right? Traditionally, we had, people will say in sales, always ABC, right? They say always be closing, right? Okay, today is different. Okay, it's still ABC, but it's always be creating content. Okay, particularly because closing, you have to show up every time. This is why content marketing is important, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, content marketing is you have to. This is, let me just put it right here for you. It's active income. Okay, if you make any income from the content you created when you were closing the sale, right? Closing meaning in sales closing, right? If you make any kind of income, it's active income, because if you don't show up tomorrow, that money is not going to show up. Okay? But always be creating. The work you create continues to work for you. It's called intellectual properties. Okay? It's called, we make money from sales. Money comes from people, right? We kind of know that already. Money comes from people, right? So, this is also content, but this content is not, okay, let me put that on the next line as our next Y, okay? You have one that's dead content, okay? It's literally dead on arrival because it's not being documented, okay? It's not being documented. Even back in the days when they recorded sales calls, right? They were only recorded, when you call a line and they say, hey, this call has been recorded because what's the reason? It's being recorded for quality control, right? Right? That was the only purpose. It wasn't recorded to be used to continue to make money, because it's actually useless. You're closing one sale with one person, right? And it's particular to that person's conversation. So you can't really translate that sales message to another person, right? So it's called dead content versus if you engage content marketing, you start creating living content. Okay? They live on long after you leave this space called the human experience. Okay? Not only do they live on, they work, they continue to work, because again, if you attach this to some type of income, you'll make passive income, because your content are going to be evergreen. There are some content that are not evergreen, but people can still consume them. Like, for example, if your content is trendy topics, right? If your content is trendy topics, let's say you talk about Michael Jackson, right? When he died, right? That news is only relevant in that time period. All right. But believe it or not, the way the algorithms work, right? Though that piece of content continues to work for you. So even if somebody sees it, they see a date, they see a date on it, they like what you're saying, they decide to dig in a little bit further into your profile online, either a YouTube channel or Facebook. Now they see more of relevant content that you're making today, more of evergreen content. So I always tell people, no, whatever you do, right? Even though trendy topics bring a lot of traffic, because they're news, right? Everybody's interested in the news. You definitely want to make sure that you are also creating evergreen content, okay? Even if you have to separate the hubs where you're publishing this content, okay? So the most basic way to think about content is books. The information, each chapter is a piece of content, right? Don't overthink it. I know I kind of like dribble around, and it's the same thing, okay? It's just a piece of information that people can consume online, okay? Piece of information people can consume online. How can they consume it online? It has to be documented, and then has to be marketed, in which case we're talking about marketing promotion right now, okay? So we're still talking about why. We're talking about why. Why content marketing precisely, not just content, right? There's no need to talk about why content, because content is being created. It's just a question of if you are It's just a question of if you're leveraging it or not. See, if you're living life, you're having human experience, content is being created, maybe not documented. Okay, maybe no one is documenting your life, right? So, but either way, content is being created, right? Either you realize it or not, there are people that watch you, they look at you, they look at how you move, and that's translating to experience for them, right? So content is experience. Okay, you give people opportunity to experience you, right? So it's experience opportunity, right? Even before you decide to charge them money at all, if ever, right? So it's an experience opportunity. They might be reading it just as words, but it's just as powerful. Like it's even better if they can hear your voice, they can feel the emotions in your voice, right? Even much more better if you can record a video, because now they can put facial expressions to your expressions, right? And it can take on a whole life of its own, right? So you go from, I don't know, one dimensional on paper, sorry about that, to 2D, right? To 2D, right? They can literally watch, see an image that describes what we're talking about as a form of illustration, right? Let's put that right here. Illustration. You get to give examples of what you sell, right? On paper, in written forms, in the form of videos. It costs less because it's content, right? Because again, this is information in our heads already. Is that making sense? The information exists already in our heads. You know this stuff. Like, I'll never ask you to teach stuff that you don't know, right? I might tell you go learn something new so you can have stuff to teach, because you can always learn something new, right? ILD, to invest, learn, do, teach, right? It's actually much more. There's share, there's do, there's be, right? We'll cover that earlier on, right? So, but the key thing you want to pay attention to here right now is that you can choose to what level of the experience you want to create for people. Every single one of these different ones can make you serious money, right? 3D experience. We're already hearing more and more about virtual reality. Virtual reality, right? Virtual reality is part of life. It's going to become heavily part of life. That's where the whole metaverse conversation start to come in, right? But for now, 2D, two-dimensional videos, right? Videos that feel like 3Ds, right? That you can use to transcribe knowledge, impact, right? Experience into other human beings just by documenting and then passing that along. You can do it for free. Why would you ever want to do that for free? Because people will want to support you at some point anyway, or people will want more. If you're really good at what you do, they will want more of the little experience they've had. Then you can also charge for it. And when you're charging for it, you will be using the same idea, content marketing, to basically transfer, right? To basically transmit the value that you are selling in whatever the product or service into the other person. How do you do that? Content marketing. Content marketing, okay? Now, particularly, I like attraction, okay? I like to use it for attraction, okay? I like to use it. What do I mean by attraction? Because again, the best way to help people is to actually help them, right? But the best way to start helping people is to give them valuable information, okay? So if you help people get valuable information, they're going to want your services or more information from you, or more, they want to stay updated with you, okay? So you can use it to absolutely create attraction for your business by sharing information. There's no end to how much information you can create, because the nature of information by itself, right? The nature of information by itself is that it's self-perpetuity, right? Right? Particularly when you've documented it to become content, right? Particularly when you learn the skills of using it in content marketing. Okay? So it's very important to just understand that in this time and age, as we continue to move into the future, you need content and you need to be content marketing. Okay. Another reason, okay, marketing costs. It offsets marketing costs. helps you offset marketing costs. How? Okay, how? Let's talk about how, right? You could set up advertising and just pay money to bring people to your platforms, right? To bring people to check out your product, right? But here's the deal: the likelihood that a person that don't know you before, that never met you before, will buy from you on day one is lower, right? And it's higher if they've consumed a piece of content from you over a short period of time. What do I mean by short period of time? It could be like within the last few hours to 2 years. Some people are gonna come on your platform on day one. They already know what they want. They feel solid. They feel like they know you, like you, and trust you, right? And they've decided to do business with you. Okay. And some other people will basically continue to consume content from you, in which case you're building. Let's talk about this again. I'm gonna hit brand equity. Okay, let's put that here. Brand equity. Another way of thinking about brand equity. We covered this in the book. Make sure you read the book, Digital Marketing Certified. The LKT factor, right? So they're consuming content, a piece of video there, a 3 minutes video over there, a 10 minutes video over there. It's a 1,000 words article over here. They're reading this stuff. It has to do with the topic of whatever it is that you sell, right? 3 tips to do something, 5 tips, 5 signs of something, right? Biggest mistakes to avoid in whatever it is that you sell, right? You're putting all these articles out there, and as you engage new customers, you're creating new experiences, aka content. Well, it's not really content yet, but it's new experiences. Now you decide to document those experiences, and then it becomes content. And then the content will go to work for you and help you offset your marketing costs. So if you are just bringing people and say, hey, these are the products, right? They don't know you. The brand equity is low. There's a very high chance they're not going to buy from you. But as you continue to be present in the form of experience for them, which is documented experiences and content, right? They get to start to feel like they know you, like you, and trust you. This is KLT, by the way, right? They start to feel like, maybe I know this person, maybe I can trust them, right? Does that make sense? They start to really get comfortable with you, right? Very, very important, okay? And then they buy. Now, what is the cost of getting them to engage your business and your brand over time with content? It's just the cost of creating content. But what's the cost of having to market every single time? Okay, for every time you want to have something to sell, you have to market to them over and over again. What is the cost? It costs money, right? It's going to cost you heavy amount of money. So let's put some numbers to this. Let's say $200, right? Will bring in, I don't know, let's say $5 per visit, right? So let's just say about 40 visits to your website, right? 40 visitors to your website, right? So, but if you want to bring them back to your website tomorrow, if you don't have content, right, you have to spend that $200 all over again, right? But let's say you decided to do the other way around, right? Spend the same $200, right? You have 40 visits, right? So not only do you have 40 visits, let's say about 10 of them became buyers on that same day, right? But then there's 30 more, right? Those 30, they're not comfortable yet. The same 10 become buyers here, right? 10 buyers here, right? But that's it. You spent $200, you got 10 buyers. You spent $20 per buyer, per customer, right? I should say, right? But this time around, you got 10 buyers, but you got 30 buyers that's now sitting, lingering around. They own your content. There are ways to capture their contact information and continue to market to them. How are they going to get more and more comfortable with you over time? How? I'll tell you how. The way they're going to do it is content marketing, okay? You just continue to help them. You show them some tips, information, signs, biggest mistakes to avoid, how to win, success tips, right? Testimonials, success stories. You continue to share those kind of things with them. The likelihood, right, that they're going to become buyer increases with time because the brand equity is increasing. Okay, so let's say another 10 became buyers, okay, from just those activities, just because of content marketing, just because you understand the concept of content marketing. Now the same $200 was spent and you got 20 buyers. Your cost is now lower, right? Cost dropped from, how much was it? $20, right? Per buyer, per customer, I should say, to how much? For $10, okay, per customer. These are the kind of this is called leverage, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and add that as the last here but not the least, right? As leverage. So what do we have? Always be creating a passive income. You get to create living content. They live on, except unlike what is documented when people tell you, oh, we're recording just for quality control. Like, they barely ever use that for the business anyway. Trendy and evergreen content, we talked about that, for illustrations before people buy from you. Again, makes them more comfortable to buy from you. Then also we talk about the experience opportunities. You give them the experience in the form of virtual reality. All of this is virtual, by the way, before they buy. It gets them more comfortable. Attraction, you get to use the same piece of content to attract more people over time that may not necessarily become your customer on day one, but they become your customer as a higher percentage becomes your your customer over time. Sorry about that. Okay, and I basically show that here by showing this offsetting the marketing cost, right? And we talked about brand equity. Obviously, content marketing helps you increase brand equity. Last but not least, this is a form of leverage. You get to make money from the content you're creating in the form of residual. That's why it's called intellectual property over time, even after you are fast asleep forever. Okay, they live on. The content you create lives on. They pay you long after you've created them, unlike a job, right? Unlike a regular job. That's why even if you're going to become a digital marketer, that's why people are paying six-figure to their content marketing specialist, because it's a big deal. Okay, all right, so let's talk about how. I want to show you how I do mine, and then obviously we're going to have execution challenges later on that I'm going to bring you into. Okay, but I want you to understand the fundamentals of these things we're talking about, right? I want you to understand it at the fundamental level. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so how do you do this? Okay, there are a couple of ways that I create content. I'm going to show you the examples in a second, right? Number one, we are heavy on article. I became very successful online. My first initial success online in 2009, 10, 11 were based on articles. Okay, we just wrote articles, were published on article websites like eZine back then and stuff like that, right? So articles are still very powerful. Words are powerful. Why? Because the algorithms, it's actually easier for them to read the words, right? So articles, right? Within those articles, we do insert images, that illustrative images, right? That describes what we're talking about. Okay, or illustrates, I should say. Okay, illustrates whatever the topic is, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you some example in a second. All right, we also do videos heavily. Okay, we do videos heavily, obviously for YouTube in particular, right? But also even for Facebook, right? Even for Facebook, right? But we also do audio. Okay, audio how? Because we have a podcast that we repurpose our content to, right? Another thing that we do as a form of content here that and maybe this one is not that obvious, maybe it's obvious, are books, right? We write books. I'm on the fourth book right now, okay? So as long as we continue to have the grace, we'll continue to write, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm not going at the pace I like yet, but it's a big part of our content marketing strategy, okay? Because it's content. It's just content. Not only that, people respect books, okay? People have they attribute a higher sense of authority, okay, which is part of branding, right? To books, all right? I'm not talking about pamphlets. I'm not talking about if you're able to push out a 150 pages book, you'll be highly respected by an average person, okay? It doesn't have to be a bestseller, okay? Just the idea that you sat down, you have enough in your head to put a book together, that is a highly respectable skill, or whatever you want to call it, right? So if you can, that's definitely one way that we practice things. So we could call that the four pillars of content marketing that we do here, okay? And obviously, some of our content they're behind a paywall, right? Obviously, that's how we are able to afford to continue to do it, right? But a lot of our content is just articles out there, and I'm going to show you an example here in a second, again, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, okay? All right, so the first website is myempirepro.com, right? We pull a lot of content on myempirepro.com. I'm going to show you that here in a second. Let's load the website. All right, so we have this, and obviously, like I said, we have the book. A book is something I've been writing for a while. The first book I wrote is actually not published right now. I'm gonna find it, clean it up, and it's a book called Network Marketing 2.0 for network marketers. I wrote that book back in 2009 or maybe early 2010, but it was never published. We just basically distributed the PDF as a to capture leads, as a lead offer, basically, right? So it was a fantastic book that had a lot of raving reviews, right? But anyway, so if I click here on the blog, right, you can see that we have the books, the book chapters here, right? But we also have a sub part of this website where there's a lot of real estate content / blog. Okay, I'm going to show you 3 examples, okay? 3 hub examples. You're going to be building out your own hub when we get to execution, so prepare for that. But again, we're going to make it super simple for you. All you have to do is follow the steps, step by step, okay? So this is the original blog that we had. I want to show you, you can see, let me just click on this article right here. So we always do a combination of videos and articles, right? You don't have to start that way. As a matter of fact, what I do is I suggest to people to start out with video. Just have an idea at the back of your mind. You've studied something new, you have a summary of what you just learned. Share it on a 3 to 10 minutes video. That's the best way, because again, it removes all sense of procrastination and all this kind of stuff, right? So you can see there's an article here, and there's a video at the top of it, right? This video is a 10 minutes video. There you go. You're familiar with some of these videos, right? Hopefully. And, and there's an article. It's the same text that I was recording in the video. They are scripted and they were recorded with a teleprompter. And there you have it. And that's this content right here. Okay. It's content right there. Okay. All right, so it's an article that's like 2-in-1 example, right? Because there's a video right here that's embedded, and this video is hosted on YouTube. Now you do know that I have a YouTube channel at press time. It has over 3,000 subscribers. That's
digital marketing more deals, leads, and income. 5 reasons.
That's without doing any kind of algorithm, anything like that, right? We just kind of push it out to our subscribers. Where it's not optimized for YouTube, right? But anyway, this is this video right here, right? You can see right there we have over 3,500 people subscribed to this, right? All right, so that's one like that. This is content. This is a piece of content. What are we doing? We're always advertising the books, right? Always we have opportunities to advertise the books on the side, within the article, right? In article, and things like that, right? Okay, so that's 2 in 1. There's video, there's articles, right? There's books. So that's 3 in 1. Example that I just showing you right there. Those are my first and second published books: Smart Real Estate Wholesaling and Real Estate Money Secrets, right? So let's go to LolaandOla.com. This is a platform that I do with my wife. We put out a lot of content on there, but again, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you how to execute exactly the way we do it, right? There's no need to reinvent the wheels, okay? It works for us. It's going to work for you as well, okay? So this is my bread and butter, just in case you're wondering, right? This is how a lot of the money we make comes in, okay? All right, so let's see. Okay, so we have this one. Obviously, it's advertising the book, right? But let's go on the blog, right? And then you can see an example of an article and video embedded into the article. And this is an example right here. Okay, we have the latest video at press time is a video called 7 Stages of Emotional Affairs. Again, tips, success tips, mistakes to avoid, and things like that. You're not you can't any information in your head that you can put out there, right? The only thing that's costing you is the time to document it. Once you document it one time, it works for you over and over and over again. Okay? That's the beauty in content marketing. Plus, it offsets your marketing cost because again, you're not just advertising for people to buy from you. You're actually helping them already. So it makes it super easy or easier for them to buy from you because it represents you don't really need them to want to help. You don't need them to buy to want to help, and that increases the chances that they want to buy. Does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense. All right, so I'm going to click into this article right here. Don't worry about all of this. I'm going to show you how to set all of this up, okay, in the execution challenge. Okay, all right, we have this. Okay, let me just take a picture of this so that somebody can fix this. Somebody keep making a mistake of not reviewing their work. Let me just take a picture real quick. Let's see. Okay, my Empire Pro I didn't mean. I just gotta take a picture of that. See that little OBJ over there? Just gotta make sure that the person responsible for it fixes it. All right. Fix, please. Okay. All right, good. So you can see this video right here, same concept. There's a book, there's a video, there's an article. They can read this and be blessed, right? They can read this and be blessed, right? All right, there's something else I need to pay attention to here. Oh, big line gaps. So I'm doing quality control right now. I'm noticing that there's a gap between this article and somebody's responsible for it, and they need to fix it. All right. So anyway, nonetheless, I'm just a little extra particular. The consumable content. You can see all these articles being showcased on the right. 7 stages of emotional affair, 5 signs emotional disrespectful wife. All those things that has to do with marriage. Put that on this platform, right? their content marketing, right? So when people come here and consume this, quite a few people come here to consume this. So it's attracting organic traffic. Let me just put that there for you really quickly, so you can see that as an additional why. Okay, attraction, organic traffic. So there's paid traffic and there's organic traffic. Organic traffic is traffic that's just by default of things. When people search online, they stumble into the hub, right, or the blog as we call it, right? And those are your potential customers. The more of them that you can attract in any given period, the better, right? So that's that right there. Just wanted to show you that. All right. So the other thing that we do is podcast. Podcast is a way. Our podcast platform serve as a node for us. It's as a form of node hub for us. What do I mean by node? They're basically all these other agents out on the internet that points back to our main hub. So our main hub for marriage is lolaanola.com. Our main hub for digital marketing, anything real estate, is myempirepro.com, right? So, but these are audios that people are watching and they're listening to, but they also have articles attached to them. So let me show you an example, right? So the podcast at this point, we've changed the name a few times, but it's called Marriage and Marketing now. Okay, you can find it on any one of your favorite podcast platform. Okay, and there you go. All right, so it's called Marriage and Marketing Podcast. So our scripted content that we release once a week, we do it once a week on each platform. Those are about two different main pieces of content that we push out once a week at this point in time. That changes. There were times we did it once a day. There were times we did it only weekdays. Right now we're doing once a week. We push out our authentic quality content, right? And we'll push it out, right? Okay, so this is the podcast right here. So if I click into this, I'm trying to get to the actual podcast. Let me go to the iTunes page. So it's on iTunes as well. I think this is it right here. This should be it. Okay, so this is the iTunes where I can see myself and my wife over there, right? So you can see the book that we're presently releasing. We just released chapter 7. You can listen to it literally right there. If you need additional help, please go to the show notes right there, right? So we have that right there. So how is this working out for us? I wanted to show you some results, right? So you can see how this is working out for us. Let me see. Let me just see here. 1 second. Okay. So let me go into Google Console. Let's use Google Console. We're gonna go into Google Search Console. Okay. So let's see how much organic traffic Google is sending us every day, right? Let's just take a look at it, right? So the idea, you're trying to build an online platform, right? It doesn't matter if you're working for someone or you're working for yourself as a side also. The idea is you want more traffic coming to you, right? So let's see here. Okay. All right. So Search Console. All right, so I'll show you how to set all this up during the execution phase. So for now, I just want you to pay attention to this, right? Google Search Console. Let's see, start now. Okay, I gotta go here. Just switching accounts out. Let's go here. Come on, show me the overview. Come on. Okay, we're here now. All right, so if you look at myempirepro.com, we can see this. This is the traffic, right? So in the last 3 months, this is just showing us the last 3 months. Google has sent us 812 organic clicks. That's human beings that are searching for stuff and they're clicking over to our website, okay? For free. So this is one of the advantages of content marketing. You get free traffic. It's not exactly free because it costs you time, right? To the work that you put in, right? But it eventually becomes free, right? Because if you don't think it's free, just ask people that are spending money on advertising. A lot of them get burnt out and they lose their shirts in that process. But when you have content marketing, you offset your marketing cost. And yes, you can feel free to call that free. So if I go on the performance, we can see here 812 in the last 3 months, right? Not bad, right? We're trying to 10x that. We're working on 10xing that right now, because if it's working a little bit, it's going to work a lot, right? You just have to find out what the winners are, scale them, and find out what the losers are and kill them, right? If you go to lolandola.com, we can see here that this one in the last 3 months has a little bit under 2,000 visits, all organic, okay? And you can see the terms that people are searching for. When people search for these terms that you're writing about, they'll find them or something similar to it, and then you can continue to optimize, right? So that's that right there. Just wanted to show you that really quickly. Let's see. All right, awesome. Okay, so that's organic traffic for you. The other thing I wanted to show you is like what we use as nodes. So there's hub and there's nodes. What do I mean by hubs and nodes? Let me show you what do I mean by hubs and nodes, right? Hubs and nodes. I'm just going to show you an image that can help us illustrate what I'm talking about. Hub and nodes. Hub and nodes is a concept that you want to remember, because we're going to talk about this a little bit more in search engine optimization. Okay. All right, so we do have a nice image of hubs and nodes over there. All right, so this is hubs and nodes. This is what they tend to look like. We have a complicated version of it, but so when you think about a network, right? Let me just put the image address. All right, I'm gonna blow this up and show you. Okay. So your hub is basically the central piece. That's like your main house, your HQ, your headquarters, right? So think about the corporate head office of McDonald's, right? They have all of these different McDonald's hubs all over the place where they sell, right? They bring in the traffic, but all that money is coming to the hub, the central piece right here called the hub, right? So that's the nature of the beast that you'll be creating here with your digital marketing. I want you to think of it that way, right? How many agents are out there? You have a lot of you have like one website, but there are no hubs out there. There's no nodes out there or sub hubs, right? Because after a while, if you get big and big enough, you need to have regional offices, right? That becomes like the hub of that particular region, right? And on and on and on and on like that, right? So that's what hubs and nodes are look like, but you can see some more complicated version of them like this eventually. So there's a testimonial out there by one of the guys that worked with us in the past, who said this guy built a spider web. What you're looking to do is you want to create a spider web of your brand all over the internet. You want to leave blueprints all over the place, in a way that even if you try to delete yourself off the internet, is impossible. Okay, so if you Google my name right now and you try to delete all this information about me out there, which is mostly about real estate or digital marketing, I couldn't delete it if I could, if I wanted to, right? And that's what you're looking to create. That's another way. See, that's like regional offices like that, one with 3 offices, one with 4 offices. The internet is built exactly like that, right? There's different types and they go to different types of degree. But again, think of it in terms of hubs and nodes. So we use the podcast platform called Libsyn. Okay. Don't touch anything right now. I'll show you when the right time is. Okay. To start setting up. But that's what we use. All right. Okay, there you go. That's what we use to build our platform. I'm logging right now. I'll show you. Not only do we get listeners, one of my biggest students ever, who makes $230,000 per month, right? At his peak, right? He found me on just listening to audio while he was driving to a conference. Okay, so that's the result of this kind of content, right? So it's a content, but it also serves as a node because Libsyn actually push this content and the articles attached to them, pushes them to what I call the nodes. All of them point back to the main hub, but they're all out there and they're working for us on a consistent basis. Okay, so you can see here, all time, just audio. We don't even promote the podcast like that. It's had 35,000 downloads in the last month. This month has 192 so far. Let me go under the analytics itself and see and show you what is going on there. So we use it strictly as a node because, again, there are two. It's not niche down. It's marriage and marketing podcast, right? So we use it purely as a node, meaning as agents out there that point back to us, right? So you can see here, you can see all the data for each one of the. So if I look here, I see that the digital marketing stuff has 27 here. Disrespectful wife has 34. 5 Signs of Marriage is over, has 52. Obviously, that's a hot topic for some people. But again, over time, people continue to listen to this evergreen pieces of content, and this content help us make more money. So all these people come in here to consume this content. We're able to also, they end up on our website. We're able to retarget and remarket our actual offer for sale to them. They are much more highly likely to buy from us because they already know us. There's a high likelihood that they feel like they know us, like us, and trust us. Know, like, and trust. KLT factor, brand equity, right? And that's how this works. Okay. So this month so far, 192. Last 7 days alone, 149. Right. Well, this month is only 9 days so far. Last 30 days, 724 listeners. Okay. This year 6,000, right? So again, not bad for something we're not really promoting. What we're really promoting is what we promote, which is the books, right? That's how we'll bring people into our hub, right? Or into the network, right? We'll bring people into the network with the books. And I recommend books because even if it's not yours, because again, there's higher authority. If you can put, sitting down and writing 1,000 words article is different from writing a 30,000 words book and packaging it and getting it published on the platforms that matter, right? So it's just something to pay attention for the nearest future. So those are some numbers right there to show you. This is how we do it. Very simple. Let me reiterate real quick, right? Articles, right? Illustrative images in the articles, right? Videos, audio, books. All right? Videos, articles, videos, audio, books. AVAB, right? That's what I teach. Okay? Teach you to use the same methods. Like, what do I write a book about? Oh, so much. We can talk about that, Whatever it is that you do, there are tips around that industry. Okay? Write a book about it. Okay? More people are going to hire you to do that thing that you charge for if you have a book out there about it. But again, it's not an end all, be all, or it doesn't fit everything, but most likely it fits whatever you do fits that. Okay, it's highly likely, right? And also you can partner with people that have books and just give it out, and you can also leverage that. As long as you're going to be leveraging their back end to make money as well, then it makes sense. Okay. All right. So that's how we do content marketing. When we get to the execution challenge, you will be engaged in that. Okay. So let's talk about a quick homework for you. Okay. Let's talk about a quick homework for you. I gave you 4 types of content. Okay. I gave you 4 types of content, but there's more. There's more out there. Okay. There's at least 3 more. At least 3 more. Okay. But I've given you some background, some foundation to understand the concept of content marketing, right? Content marketing is non-negotiable. If you're going to make money or make a career out of digital marketing, it's something that you at least need to understand. So even if you need to understand it, right? Okay. I want you to go on Google and do some research. Okay. Find 3 additional types of content. Okay, so here's the kicker. Some of them are the same thing, but they have different names that they call them. You can make them your additional types of content. If you realize it's the same thing, but it's a different name, just specify like different term on your homework, right? I want you to specify, okay, this one, you kind of mentioned it, right? But 1 second here. To, just say, hey, you mentioned it in the coaching, in the class, but another name was used. Okay, that's your homework for this class. Next week, it's an extension of content marketing. in content marketing, you can produce content and put them on social media, on your walls, on your feed, on your profile, right? But next week we're going to take this a little further. We're really going to talk about how to the method behind the madness of what gets your content ranking on the search engines and getting those free traffic that I showed you on the Google Search Console. Okay. All right, so let's do that. And also, in addition to giving me those 3 additional types, I want you to give me a 50 words. Okay, if you want to do more, that's fine, but somewhere between 50 and 100 words summary of what you learned today. Okay, that should be inside of your homework. Participate in homework always, of course. And I'll see you in the next class, the 7th master class of DMI 15. Talk soon. Bye now.